Well, everyone, welcome back to another Tuesday and another episode here of Cloud Talk Live. Well, folks, super excited to have you here today. My name is Jeff DeVerter. I'm the Chief Technology Evangelist for us here at Rackspace Technology, and delighted to be with you again. Now, same old rules apply. Even if LinkedIn is going to not behave with the API, we'd love for you to introduce yourself in the comments below, whatever platform you are watching us on. So tell us who you are. Tell us where you are. Also, if you want to get a hold of us, feel free to send an email at solve@rackspace.com. Maybe you've got some feedback for us. Maybe you want to be a guest. Maybe you have an idea for an episode. Feel free to send us an email over there. We'd love to hear from you. And a few other things to bring you up to speed on before we jump into the program today. If we're not already best friends over on LinkedIn, I'd love for you to track me down over there. And it's just /JDeVerter. So Jeff DeVerter, easy one to find. So love to connect with you there. Also, if you're not already following the podcast, the Cloud Talk podcast, well, I'd love for you to do that. We're releasing new content almost weekly. I've got a new one that's going to come out this week. This past episode was all about modern operations. And we had, it was another episode of the CTO Roundtable. So we brought different CTOs together from around Rackspace to have a conversation around what it takes to operate workloads in this new modern world, whether that's a modern private cloud, whether that's a modern public cloud infrastructure. So I think you'll really enjoy that conversation. It's not a 100 level conversation. We're into the 200 and 300. So if you want to get your tech on, make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast Cloud Talk, wherever you find your podcasts. Now, in today's episode, we're super excited to have a couple of amazing rackers on. They're not new to the show, but they're new to having this conversation with us here today. We've got Ed Kerr. He is a director in product. And then, of course, the incredible Adriana Bustamante. And she leads global alliances, kind of oversees things in channel. There's no limit to the things that they won't, I was going to say inflict on her, but you know, success breeds more work, and she is nothing but successful here at Rackspace. And our conversation today is going to focus on what has been going on over at Dell Tech World. We're just fresh off that conference, and there's a lot that's been going on, so let's jump into it. And Gracie, welcome from San Antonio. Everybody be like Gracie and introduce yourselves. But Adriana, Ed, welcome to the program.
Hi,
Happy to be here.
This morning.
Well, of course, with any given day, especially around Rackspace, it's never quiet. So I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on and having a conversation with us about what happened just a few weeks ago over at Dell Tech World. And it was a first, really, for Dell Tech World since that special relationship with VMware came to an end, and with a good amount of time since that has occurred. So I'm really excited to dig into the details as to what was the vibe like. Ed, let's start with you. What just kind of in general, what was it like over there post the special VMware relationship?
Yeah, so I mean, the energy was great. The event itself was amazing. I mean, there was a lot of fun entertainment. They had Seinfeld headlining. They had a lot of really interesting.
Wait, did you say they had Seinfeld headlining?
Yes, Jerry Seinfeld.
That's incredible.
There was soup for us too, though. That was the great thing. It wasn't no soup. It was with soup.
Soup for all.
Yeah, soup for all. But yeah, no, it was a great event, a lot of amazing energy, a lot of amazing partnerships that were being formulated and developed, and some pretty cool announcements, I think, at a high level. Obviously, there were a couple things that kind of really, I don't know, defined the event. I'd say AI was top of mind. I'd say that there was a focus on expanding partnerships. But, you know, other than that, it was an amazing event.
I love hearing that. How about Adriana? I know you weren't feeling the best in the world, and you were like that going in. It wasn't a Vegas issue. So overall thoughts around the conference before we start to dig into some of the details.
So one, I will say, like, giving just some color first on Vegas, because it was at the Palazzo and they had taken over parts of the Sphere for part of it, and all of the images that were going on that you could see from the Sphere were incredible. There were some images that were laptops all around and the different servers. So I got to give props to Mr. Dell and team there because they really did take some moments to take over Vegas.
They
I
even
mean,
took over the airport, right?
they did, and you would expect nothing less. In fact, they were celebrating. He mentioned this a couple of times. Michael was part of the keynote, and he did a breakout for the partner executive session as well. On it is the celebration of their 40-year anniversary. And they are
40
not
years of Dell.
40 years of Dell, 40
That's
years
incredible.
since, he was selling the laptops in the back of his trunk as the story goes. And now they have the compound in Round Rock. But to echo Ed, all things AI, that was a huge prominent part of the discussion and their announcements, how to make it easier. I mean, I think we knew going in as they started this year, their fiscal year, that AI was one of the main pillars that they were going to continue to bet on. They've added new organizations to help support this, not only from a solution standpoint, but from a go-to-market and sales standpoint.
Right.
And so it is how to make it more efficient, how to optimize. You see new partnerships come out. I know we'll probably spend some more time getting into that. But I would say also thinking about your question of the special relationship, I think we saw a lot of themes around open frameworks,
Right.
and you saw new partnership, enhanced announcements of the stuff that they're doing with Red Hat and how to look at virtualization in more of that open sense and open
Yeah.
framework. But as we'll go into as well, VMware is still very much a part of the business and how they think about how to serve their customers in the multi-cloud world.
Right. So the relationship, of course, doesn't exist anymore. But VMware, you can't. It's still a player, and it's still a huge component of those workloads that run on Dell gear. But let's dig in a little deeper on, since there isn't that binding relationship. Let's talk about that. How things are opening up. I know there's some announcements with Nutanix. There's Red Hat stuff. So Ed, bring us up to speed a little bit on some of those announcements.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the key things that Dell did at Dell Tech World was really talk about their comprehensive AI strategy. This included high performance architecture accelerators, networking solutions, storage solutions, integrations with software suites like NVIDIA, AI Enterprise, OpenShift, AI platforms, etc. And this was called their Dell AI Factory. That's the concept that they kind of put out there into the market. And as part of that, they essentially said, we need to have a solution that anybody can plug into. If it's just about the special partners that we have and they're the only ones who can access it, then we greatly limit it. It's kind of like the Apple charger, the lightning cable. It was short-lived and everybody used it, but now we're all on USB-C from here on out, right? Because that's an easy way for everybody to plug in. And I think that was the major focus for Dell, was creating a framework that everybody could kind of tap into. And so some of the partners that really came to the front of the stage was, as AB talked about, was Broadcom and some of the works they were doing with the Tomahawk 5 chips. It was NVIDIA and some of the things that they're doing with GPUs. And of course, all things AI, you have to also talk about the things around AI that allow it to kind of work and function. And so Dell has solutions there like storage and making sure that those frameworks are open and easy to use for people, that the integrations are easy to access and easy for people to utilize.
So really opening up that partnership lens, bringing more folks in and around. And I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but when we think about the GPU, and we think about, you need to think about everything that happens outside of that GPU and enables it to do the things that it does. But it's exciting to hear about those expanded relationships. Now that can sometimes cloud things a little bit as well. I mean, with complexity comes complexity, and that makes it harder to implement some of this stuff. So did they have any thoughts, Adriana, on how to mitigate that?
I will say, in some other conversations that I've been fortunate enough to have with Dell and parts of their team, they, especially for AI, it is very much an ecosystem approach. They know that it's going to take multiple partners to come together to make these solutions real and come to life. And they believe, very much of that interconnection between your data and that data driving the AI and vice versa. How can you maximize your AI use cases by really looking at the data? And that is not one partner alone. As Ed talked about the AI factory, one of the things that they talked about with partners is, you know, how they can work and have connections to bring different partnerships together to help solve for this, and how they as Dell can help provide validated designs and architectures and work closely. So we were one of the first ones working with them last year when we look at, part of the Dell well architected designs, and with Dell and NVIDIA and Rackspace coming together to deliver private cloud AI solutions that are powered by all of our technologies. We only see that continuation to expand. And I think they know, um, Denise Millard, who is now their chief partner officer, and she's fantastic. They are very much, have the executive buy-in to look at a very partner-centric strategy, not only for their entire business, but also specifically, how do you go accomplish AI together? And I think Dell's making some bets on, to ensure that from a supply chain perspective, from an integration perspective, making sure that they have access to the GPUs and to, as Ed mentioned, not only on the GPU side, into storage and into networking, and to get the hardware there to help deliver to the partners and the clients when they need it. Those are the bets that they are making, and they are relying on partners and enabling partners to help that be achieved.
It's a good time to be a partner with Dell, isn't it?
They are making some strong investment to continue to be partner first, very much.
Indeed. So lots of conversations around AI. I mean, we can't do anything these days without having an AI conversation. But Ed, one of the areas that, regardless of where your AI workloads are running, there's one constant, and that is data to make it all run. What do they do what was announced at the event really around enabling data, regardless of where that AI is running?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, I actually think it's a great way, an example to answer your previous question. You had asked, as you introduce all these partners, you introduce complexity. What's the strategy to bring value to the market? Well, the one way you do that is you do something else, some other part of the equation easier. So yeah, you're introducing more partners, but you maybe eliminate data silos, or you provide performance at scale, or you allow granular data controls, or democratize insights so more people have access to that. And so that's kind of the strategy that, if I was a product person, I would take. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to add complexity over here, but I'm going to make your life a hell of a lot easier over here. And the net is that this is a win. And so Dell, and what they did at the event was they introduced their data lakehouse, right? Dell's data lakehouses. And it does exactly that. It eliminates data silos. It creates secure federated querying with Starburst. It accelerates insights. It centralizes data. It provides democratized insights out to the market. And so it's that kind of concept that allows Dell to take their robust partner ecosystem, which can be a bit daunting at first, and say, you know what? Not only is it going to get you the ability to choose your partner upstream or downstream, but you're able to extract additional value that you otherwise wouldn't, because we've created a simple way to integrate all these partners and provide tremendous value. And so I think that's a kind of key component to the question that you asked earlier, which is, how do you manage the complex partner ecosystems? Well, the simple answer is you add so much value, it doesn't matter, like the people are okay with that. And I think that's the strategy that Dell's taking here.
That's super interesting. And, as we think about AI, we're always looking at those workloads. What are the fancy workloads we're going to run on that? And those are cool and all, but the most important thing, Ed and Adriana, as we've learned over the years, is the data. Wherever that data lives, I mean, that's where the gold is. I mean, people ran out west for the gold rush because that's where the gold was, and the gold is in the data. And we realized that early on, and it can be there was a lot of knee-jerk reactions in data running out to the public cloud, in that it was the only place necessarily that it could run. And there were some challenges and risks with that. I know this wasn't part of the things we wanted to talk about, but I think it's important that we bring it up, because as these AI workloads are coming together, we used to just think about it in the context of applications and analytics, but now, of course, AI. But companies really need to think strongly about where that data runs, because if you, ever want to move it, two, it gets compromised. I mean, there's all kinds of things there. Adriana, how's Rackspace helping companies to, be cautious with their data and be safe with their data?
Sure. I mean, I think you're spot on. Data is king. It it is many organizations' most valuable assets or biggest opportunity areas to get better at. And I think fundamentally, from a hybrid technology standpoint, we very much, I value and believe it's one of the things I do love about this organization is we believe in what's the right place for the workload. And when we talk with our clients, we are very workload aware and we want to help put people in the right fit. And I think more and more as organizations realize that they need to interconnect with multiple, that their data needs to interconnect and interact with multiple applications. Some of those applications are in hyperscalers, which is fine. I think that there is always this unique opportunity, and we talk about this and working with companies from the oil and gas industry and companies in retail across the board, lots of different industries, on why don't we take an approach of you looking at putting your data in a private cloud environment, to your point, the security, if there's any compliance needs and measurements that need to get measured, you still get that enabling to have interconnectivity, because we are able to help that data talk to to applications that might be cloud native and live in the hyperscalers. We have the ability to have that data be able to talk to other workloads that might already be in private clouds. I think it is always a unique opportunity, and more organizations, as they look to have more governance, they take the lessons learned. They know that they need to have more governance. They want to continue to transform. We're seeing more of a shift of people ready to get out of the data center and ready to move mission critical workloads out. It's really interesting to me of like, what's old is new again. It's like fashion.
Indeed.
And this wave is coming of how they're looking at things. This is where people are taking a hard look at their data and where it is today, and wanting guidance on what makes sense for their strategy, and also what other people are doing. As you know, peers want to learn from each other, and we're able to help provide that guidance because not only can we be a peer to them, but we also talk with their peers and help their peers help solve problems.
And we've all been in this business for so long, and AI is such an incredible catalyst for digital transformation in all areas. But I wish that these teams that are being brought together to do the AI projects would bifurcate that data team so that they are re-architecting and reimagining their data estate for the future. Because this is the one time it's sort of carte blanche to be able to get all that work done that they couldn't get justified in the past. Yeah. All right, we're not running short on time, but I want to be cautious of time. Ed, how about a little thought experiment with me? Ready?
Sure.
Here we go.
Let's do it.
All right. The world is excited about AI. True or false?
Absolutely true.
The world seems to be running, all these AI companies running towards not just a narrow intelligence, but a general AI intelligence, AGI as we call it, artificial general intelligence. True or false?
True. Very true.
The number of GPUs required to do this. What's the number you're hearing these days? How many GPUs would be needed in a super farm to enable AGI?
So caveat, the answer doesn't exist yet, but this is what Dell, this is what Dell says, right? And they said this at Dell Tech World. They said you would need 1 million of today's modern GPUs sitting, in a place, and that would allow us to achieve the singularity, is how they called it.
Oh, yeah. So Ed, how long have you been at Rackspace?
A little over 5 years now.
Yeah, you've seen the pictures. You know what our data centers look like. They're big.
Yes.
I don't know if they'd hold, if even one that's that big could hold 1 million. And I'm darn sure that we couldn't necessarily cool it.
Oh yeah, it'd be so hot. I mean, I don't even know how. It'd be the hottest standing man-made object on Earth for sure.
Yeah, all right. So we're being a little cheeky here because the point being made is one of the things that I thought was so impressive about what was announced and the whole mindset over at Dell Tech World was the fact that the GPU is a vital piece, and figuring out the logistics of that is a vital piece of figuring out AGI and just pushing artificial intelligence forward at large. But what is of equal importance is everything that wraps around it. So Ed, what are those things that wrap around the GPU?
Yeah, so just take that thought experiment and just say, great, you've got 1 million GPUs. How do you cool them, like we said? Well, you're going to need some massive innovations in the cooling space. So you're going to need to take things like liquid cooling and take them to their most efficient degree. Or you're going to have to spread them out geographically, and you're going to have to do that. But that introduces another problem. How do I create network communications that allow these AI chip or these GPUs to communicate at a pace that would allow the end user to extract value, right? And so, no matter how you kind of tackle the problem, the basic questions that we have been solving at Rackspace or any IT organization for decades are still a problem, like network speed, storage performance. These things aren't, like, to AB's point, what's old is new. And
Yeah.
so
What did
all we
AB
have to
say?
do,
Yeah.
yeah, what's old is new, right? And so all the conversation, I think that, or the way that Dell framed it, which I thought was fascinating, is it's great that we're focusing on the GPUs, and the GPUs are critical because they're innovative, they're new, they're powerful, they're the missing piece to this puzzle. But
Yeah.
if we forget about all these other things, there'll come a point where we have a million GPUs, but we can't cool them, so we can't have the singularity last more than 5 seconds before it shuts down, or we can't, have them communicate fast enough that you've got to wait like 10 seconds to hear its response. And today that's not okay.
That's not
So,
acceptable.
those are the kinds of interesting tangential components that if you don't fix, you'll ultimately end up with a bottleneck.
Any initial announcements in that space that they're doing to enable that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked a little bit about the Tomahawk chip that Broadcom introduced that allow networking and throughput to go through much more quickly. We've talked about, I don't know that we talked about this exactly, but the XE9680L, that's a lot of
Oh, the
letters.
L.
Yeah,
Much
there you
better than
go.
the M.
So
Yeah, introduced direct liquid cooling and liquid cooling in the rack solutions, and there's a lot of like energy efficiency plays that can kind of go there. Everything was focused on reducing the amount of energy that's required when you make those chips smaller, when you make them more efficient. It's kind of the output, but at the same time, you've still got to cool them. So introducing more efficient liquid cooling, et cetera. Again, I think it's really important to understand that there are really a couple things that you've got to do there. One, you've got to cool it. Two, you've got to make it more efficient, but you also have to make it valuable and easy to integrate with other things. So these things need to still talk to the GPUs. So they introduce storage solutions as an example that are not only efficient and easy to cool, but are certified with SuperPod for NVIDIA. So it can integrate with those GPUs. So that's another downstream component that you need to consider is you build all these cool things, but can they talk to GPUs efficiently? So
All the things to work around. All right, so we've got some incredible announcements and things that are happening in AI specifically, as well as the stuff around AI. There's lots of storage updates that happen, which is super exciting. And of course, the open architecture and the added partners, and going deeper with added partners like Nutanix and Red Hat, OpenShift, all the companies, all the usual stuff.
AMD, if I can, I know we're getting short on time, but I'll say AMD and Intel, where NVIDIA has a huge spot, obviously very important partnership, but they are not the only game in town, and Dell is expanding those relationships as well, and they're coming into play.
Super impressive, but that of course breeds complexity. We hinted around this a little bit before, but Rackspace can help with that complexity, and we have a couple of QR codes we're going to show you here the next minute or so. But Adriana, why don't you take us through, one of the ways that Rackspace can help companies solve this problem of complexity?
Sure. Okay, so if we think about hot topics from Dell Tech World and hot topics that we're dealing with on the day-to-day. So first one, AI. Again, all things AI. How are companies where do I start? Some companies are, where do I start? Or I've started, but now how do I take it across the finish line and go from more of that pilot to production standpoint?
Yeah.
We help customers every day and talk to them on starting out with demos and what does that look like. So first, QR code. If you're interested in dabbling, right now they saw a pendulum switch where a lot of AI testing is now done in-house, where it was done in hyperscalers because they realize, they need some new nuances, but they see an opportunity, and more of these clients are ready to get it out and work with cloud service providers like us. We already have an offer. That is something for anybody interested, please take advantage of. All things VMware, and how do I maximize my value and create more in this new world with Broadcom? What does this mean to me? Ed is probably spending the rest of his day talking to VMware customers and prospects on how to navigate through the journey. What does it mean in this new licensing world and model? Are clients optimized today? Those conversations we have regularly. So if anybody out there is interested in exploring that for their own footprint in real estate, we are happy to help have those conversations. We can help navigate, we can talk through the different options, make sure they're optimized, because we are seeing a lot, again, where a lot of old legacy thought of, as an example, running hardware and depreciating it till it's dead 7 years, 7 years old, that doesn't make as much sense anymore in this new world with VMware. So we're helping have conversations with customers on really how to maximize their overall value and total cost of ownership.
Excellent. And you get to talk to people like Ed, maybe even Ed specifically, if you, you dig into that. And one of the smartest people we know around here. So,
Yeah.
all
Is that
right,
me?
well,
Different
go
Ed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Edward
different
Kerr.
Ed. Oh,
Edward Kerr it is.
I did want to
Kerr
say
it is.
one quick thing. I know we're running out of time, but
Yeah.
just an important thing where I think Rackspace can provide value. It's also about getting ahead of the curve, right? Like technology moves so quickly that you need a partner who understands where the puck is going, not just where it's at today. I'll give you one really quick example. So today everybody talks AI and the focus is like training models, like feeding data into it. But Dell called out something really fascinating at Dell Tech World. They said, that's going to flip on its head soon, right? Like all the training is going to be done for the most part, and these models will be out there in the world for people to use, and inferencing is going to become increasingly more important. And the technology you use for training and inferencing aren't always the same. The way you approach those things aren't the same. And so you need somebody who understands that pivot and can help customize where you're at in your journey, whether that's AI or not. But that example using AI, and I think that's an important component here is having a partner, or at least yourselves, like thinking about these questions in your organization on how you can kind of make that pivot when the time is right.
Great call out.
Awesome. Adriana, Ed, Edward, thank you so much for being here today. Really do appreciate it. Your insights from Dell Tech World. Thanks for suffering through Vegas well, enjoying your time in Vegas. You got to see Seinfeld and hear about some of the
We
greatest
did,
effects.
and we were honored to win an award. So overall, it was a really great week.
It
Yeah,
was. In
agreed.
fact, what was that award? And I think we have a picture to share.
We do, yes. Josh Pruitt and I, we were there. We were Partner of the Year Cloud Service Provider for the Americas. So very honored to get that distinction in our sweet spot.
That is huge. So I know you guys got to accept the word on behalf of thousands of rackers who help enable this every day.
Yeah.
But thank you for being there for that. And to all the rackers who enable, well, our ability to serve the way that we do. So
Absolutely. It does. It takes our entire team. So
it does. All right, folks, I know we've got full days, so I'm going to let you two go. Thank you so much for being here again. We're going to wind up this show here. Everyone, thank you for being a part of the program here today. I really do appreciate having you here. As a quick reminder, if you want to get more great information like this, I would encourage you to head over to rackspace.com/solve. And over there, you can find, well, links to podcasts. You've got great articles. You've got the research. Our AI research from earlier this year is out there. Links to the summit that we did is out there. All the free information. And you know what's not there? An annoying pop-up trying to sell you something. Just go over there and get all the free information that you need. We'd love to be a help in your cloud journey. All right, everybody. My name is Jeff DeVerter, the Chief Technology Evangelist here at Rackspace Technology. I hope you have a great rest of your week. We're back next week with a really interesting conversation around migrating out into AWS through the use of some really incredible tooling. And we've got the CEO of that company who will be joining us next Tuesday. Until then, everybody, have a great week. I'm Jeff DeVerter for Cloud Talk Live.